So I wanted to get all this out there before I go fucking insane. But I mean, of course I've been struggling for a while. But I think the reason, as self-aware as I can be, there are defense mechanisms we have in our brain and all this kind of stuff that protect us from things, but can become an issue when one, those defense mechanisms are starting to become the thing that is just like fucking us over. But then, especially when we get to a point where it's like, now it's time to figure my shit out, you still have a lot of those blockers up. So that's what I've been thinking about lately, like, is things I've realized lately, and every time real big moments in my life happen, it makes me believe in fate a little bit. The thing that makes me not believe in it is the second bad things happen, and I just kind of trick myself into making more bad things happen, so it confirms that bias. But I think fate does exist, because those are only, like I just said, when it gets real bad, it's because I just did it to myself. But yeah, things have just been lining up lately. There's this project I'm doing for school. It's an interesting one. I chose to make it like about my kind of journey with music making, and it's been a little odd. It's been all over the place. I've lost faith in myself. I've given up a few times. I theoretically should be further along than I am right now, but and I was just thinking, story of someone who fell and got back up and stuff like that, and that's true. But I realize I haven't gotten back up completely. I mean, that should be evident from the fact that I keep making these videos in reference to how I've still been struggling post-rehab. But but I guess it's like this cope that I had about it, where I had been like, well, one step at a time, all this kind of stuff, and that's true, but I didn't like it. It doesn't help when you don't completely understand the reasons why you're going through what you're going through. And like I said, it's not because I'm not self-aware, it's because I am, but it's just, you have these defense mechanisms in your brain, and they protected you at one point, but now they're not serving you, now they're working against you. So really coming to terms with what has made me go down this road, why I started drinking again, why I'm still struggling with the caffeine, why the anxiety's real bad lately, why my gut issues are just fucking awful right now. And I won't get to specifically what happened to stem into this, like the actual specifics of it, but point is, I was going through some, those defense mechanisms, like I say, it stems from that. Because I remember I started really one day, like I had gone through some rough shit when I was like in high school and stuff like that, and a lot of gaslighting and a lot of convincing me of things that I knew obviously were factors and like answers to my problems, or the problems themselves, whatever it is, the most obvious thing, I would be told, oh, that's not it. I'd be convinced of it. And it was already an issue of the fact that I was already a pretty bad student up to that point, because I already had an issue of thinking I was stupid when I wasn't. So I would always second guess my fucking, because all the answers in school were so obvious to me, but it was like, it's too obvious. So I always went against myself on there. And that's why I barely passed fucking high school. But that kind of shit just got worse when I clearly was exhibiting depression, and like I clearly had like autism and ADHD, but like, no, you don't. Yeah, and it's this whole thing of just, not understanding why I am the way I am, all this kind of stuff, and this not trusting myself has always been the big thing. It developed into my adulthood, and it took for me forever to loosen up, and the thing that got me there is just one day, I'm trying to make music, but I'm failing at it. And then one day, I just, this was back in 2016, I just started playing my guitar and just said, fuck it. And I just kind of went in the moment for the first time in a very long time, and I came up with a lot of good shit. And it was like this fucking just like, this moment where things kind of came together. But it wasn't perfect, because it hasn't worked out the exact way you'd think it would from that on out. But it's this interesting thing of how crippled I've been by my shit. Because once the good feelings started happening, well, now it's time to move the goalpost. Now that's not enough anymore, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, all this kind of stuff. I was still I was able to push past it in certain moments here and there, but it just wasn't working. And then eventually drinking became a thing, for me. It was a big coping mechanism I had. Absolutely. And I started to, drank a lot. And there's this constant back and forth with me, and of thinking I'm the shit, thinking I suck, this constant doing things very brilliantly, but then also totally fucking shit up, all over the place. And it just stems from me not knowing what was wrong with me. I know better now, but that still sticks with me. And I was just looking back at these old videos and looking at the way I've kind of let myself crumble lately in these past few years, when I haven't had to do that. I didn't need to do that. I mean, I know I didn't need to do that, but it's specific. It's gotten really, yeah. And it's when I watched these videos, I both saw, because I was supposed to compile certain things together of the story I wanted to tell, and I saw the good and the bad, and it both made me feel like shit. I saw the way I was when I drank, and it was very hard to watch. And I saw when I would create stuff and stuff like that, when we would collaborate, me and Kent and all that kind of stuff, and it just hasn't happened in a while, because I let myself settle for a life that wasn't me. It was so much easier, because as much as I was pursuing the things I wanted to do, it was hard. It was hard because I didn't believe in myself and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't just the things, the productive things like that. I mean, just having fun, all this kind of stuff. Just things I wouldn't let myself do. And, so I just kind of started settling. I started giving up on things, even when things were actually going really good as far as the music was concerned. I was the most, since I had really, I started making music long before 2016, but once I started doing that, back when I kind of released a little bit of my energy, a little bit of my overthinking, kind of just for a minute. Didn't last long. It lasted longer once I picked up the bottle, but then I had issues after that. But eventually I got to the point in 2021, 2022, where I got to a point where I was in that pure mindset that I was in 2016. And I was making my music and all this kind of stuff. I was working out. I was eating right. Things were going good. But it was going too good for me. It was a little too good. So now it's time to fuck my life up again. And it wasn't in the way I normally would, in the normal self-destructive way. It was in a more protecting myself type way. A lot of self-destructive stuff, ironically, came from a lot of the ways I had developed these coping mechanisms, and it harmed me. But then I tried a different way, and that way was just settling. I settled for a job that I was above. I settled for a friend group that I was above. There's a lot of shit that happened there. Not saying it was all on the fact that like, oh, I trusted the wrong people. I definitely also made some mistakes, but that was also a result of my mental fucking problems and the fact that like at a certain point I knew I was settling. I was settling for this job. I was starting to doubt myself musically, all this kind of stuff, because it's like, well, what's the point? So I kind of gave up on it right after I had that great moments of just pure, we're just jamming and making music like we used to, all this kind of stuff, you know, because COVID fucked us both up, definitely. Me and Ken, and fucked everyone up. So there, besides other personal issues, there definitely was a period of 2020, 2021 that was just kind of, but like, you know, in 2022 things were looking up, but then very quickly I just started settling. But I did see the ways that I was still striving for things, just not the same way I was. You know, it was, you know, I was, my body and mind and soul clearly still needed to be, you know, active, you know, productive, all that kind of stuff, you know, fulfilled. So it kind of moved from music to the working out. That was one thing where I wasn't settling at the time, but I got really good at it. It's like, oh my God, there's no way, you know, and part of the reason I bring this up, I mean, it's the whole story, but it's also the fact of, you know, I'm watching these fucking videos and looking at these pictures and looking at how good I looked at a certain point there, and it makes me feel like shit now because I don't look like that right now. But like, the thing is, like, it's so funny then, it's like, well, I've made all these mistakes before with the music, with all this kind of stuff, you know, I try to jump 50 steps, it's like, and now that I took now that I've like, almost accidentally ran into having a good body, now I'm freaking out, you know, because I'm not even 100% sure of how I got here, but also the fact that, like, now that I look good, now it's not good enough anymore. I was the most self-conscious of myself when I looked really good right there. Like, you know, I was lean as fuck, muscular. I wasn't giant, but I looked good. But yeah, that started to fuck with me, right? Like, uh-oh, you know, like things are looking up, all this kind of stuff. And it was already a problem of that was the only thing at the time too, because I was settling everywhere else in my life. And it's just interesting because so soon after that, I would start to fall apart. That was a big thing that made me start losing my mind again and go back to drinking and all this kind of stuff. And things just have gotten really out of hand since then. And I didn't quite know how to put it back together, so I wasn't completely sure what the fuck even happened. And it's really just this factor of, I guess it kind of relates to that moving the goalpost thing, which is kind of a normal thing, but I was doing it for my mental fucking issues as well. It's like, oh, now I solved this issue, now I gotta come up with a new one. So it had always been that, I always knew that, but I realized it's like, there is literally no way I can cure that. Literally the only way I can push past this is to literally push past it. And what's gonna happen is every single time I do something new or something I haven't done in a while, you know, recording music, playing video games, working out, I am going to really be super uncomfortable when I first do it again. But that's something I have to get past. And it might happen multiple times. It's not gonna like, okay, we're good now, and then tomorrow's gonna be the same thing. No, well tomorrow's gonna still be good. No, tomorrow I might wake up and try to go back to it and still have that same feeling of, but it's better and more beneficial for me to actually fucking do something with my life than wither away. You know, I'm creating another defensive mechanism by sitting here, you know, still drinking too much caffeine, making excuses for it, you know, eating junk food and shit like that, just doing things I constantly will never let myself be 100%. Now, realistically, you're never going to be 100%, especially if you have mental health disease. You always need something. You can never be completely healed if you do completely 100% be 100%. That's my belief, at least. So there always something does have to give, but not in the way that I have been pushing it to be. You know, and it's this, you know, it's, you know, I'm terrified to move forward, all this kind of stuff, and it's rough, and I don't like being in a spot where I gotta pick myself back up again, but you know, that's the true test. Is like, it's not the getting down, it's the staying down, or where the fuck the saying is. You know, it's the test, man. This is it. And I really just gotta move forward. It's as simple as that. There's not gonna be any moment where God's gonna tell me, oh, you gotta, whatever. It's nothing like that. You just gotta fucking do it. I mean, to an extent, there is, you know, you get signs and stuff like that. Like I said, things have been kind of lining up lately to kind of like ring some bells in here. You know, light bulbs are going off, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's really mainly, in the end, it's just a factor of just do it. Fucking Shia LaBeouf. But yeah, just do it. You know, and you may, even if it's something you love, you may not even enjoy yourself at first because you're still just focusing on the fear aspect of it, or how it's uncomfortable because you're not used to letting yourself do it. You know, especially when I'm at the age that I am now. But, you know, just gotta pick it back up. But it's insane. It sucks because there's gonna be a lot of steps I have to take moving forward because I have devolved so much, but really I have more than gotten to the point that I was so scared of. So really there's nowhere to go but up. But like, there's the whole life passing me by thing, you know, there's the whole everyone else is moving on, you know, I should too. And there's this thing of like wanting them to come back with me, not in the sense of like to hold on to like this stagnate whatever, the point of like people have moved on past me. It's like I can't get that version of a relationship back and all that kind of stuff. So there's that too, you know, and a lot of me sitting here doing these videos was me just scared to really face what I needed to face, and for me just to vent about it, which is good to an extent. You know, it was better than keeping it in, but yeah, it was rough seeing those videos and both simultaneously showing like the worst sides of myself, but also being reminded of the good. So it's a lot of it is me taking ironically, I fell apart so much because I took healing a little too literally, because there's so many things about myself that I was not acknowledging and stuff like that, and I had to completely reevaluate who I was as a person and what the right decisions were and all this kind of shit. And like now it's like I got to a point where I was starting to get better, but like I was almost doing too much of that in certain aspects, and feeling like every single day has to be this epiphany moment, or like, you know, this you know, overanalyzing of shit just to see what the problem is so I don't repeat a mistake I made before. But like, that is not doing me any good. Healing, going to therapy, all that kind of stuff does do me good, but taking it, constantly trying to like take it like 5 steps further than that, throws me back a few more steps than I would have been if I just kind of let myself go with the flow. And I should know better. All you have to do is literally just like say, you know, you're at the top of the hill and you have this ball. All you have to do is push it, and then it just starts rolling down. And that's the only real effort you have to fucking make. As long as you just keep the momentum, as long as it keeps the momentum, things are good. So really, you know, I should just be focusing on going with the flow. Though it still is hard because I still see those old versions of myself. And yeah, there's a lot of comparison and all this kind of stuff. And this being sad about, oh, things used to be this way. But then I should be grateful because, well, things used to be that way. Yeah. So that was interesting. But yeah. It's been a ride, man. There were aspects I do have to remember, because I did somewhat remember it after last time I drank. Those moments where I was fucking sloshed, not the real bad ones that were hard to watch, but a lot of the ones where I had just enough in me to make me looser, more confident, all that kind of stuff. I have that in me. all the alcohol is that I don't give a fuck drug. It removes that part of your brain, for better or for worse, quite often for worse. But it removes that part, basically, or numbs it, I should say, so you don't think about that as much, which can be really great in some situations. It can be fucking awful in other situations. That's where you sleep with someone you shouldn't have and all this kind of shit, you know, when people make those mistakes. More often it ends up, at least the further the more you do it, at least, then it tends to be for the worse. So there is that, you know, first year or two of me drinking that was like mostly just really like fun, and not in like the frivolous or the kind of like hollow like party type sense. It was more just the fact of I didn't give a fuck as much anymore, and I was able to do the things I wanted to do within reason. My anxiety was still so bad that it was able to push through even a drunken state a lot of time, which then pushed me further in the drinking. And then it wasn't just that, it was also the fact that alcohol is a depressant and all this kind of stuff. There is the factor of the thing everyone ever's experienced from addiction, specifically from alcohol, it eventually turns on you. Your day ends up getting worse because you drank instead of better. You know, it that fun side of it doesn't last very long. Like I said, it was maybe 2 years max, probably not even that much of my addiction where it was actually like, fuck yeah, you know. And it really was. It wasn't just the way I remember it. It legit was. It's just at a certain point, it becomes a problem. And the reason it becomes a problem is because it was so good. Because it was like, wow, I could just keep doing this forever. Duh. No, you can't. So, yeah, it's time to actually, you know, move forward. You know, I'm so scared to make mistakes again. I guess that was what it comes down to. I'm so scared of making mistakes again that I haven't been able to let myself live. You know, there's so many aspects where I'm doing so much better than I used to, but there's so many ways I'm not, because I'm just like not letting myself be me, not letting myself fully, you know, it's not letting myself go through that little shaky leg period the way I should. You know, it's a thing that happens, especially after you've been out of rehab. You do, I mean, maybe not everybody, but like you, at least me, and like, you know, definitely James Hetfield had talked about it. You're kind of in this state of like, you know, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know, like, you know, I can't talk to people, all this kind of stuff. So you're like in this weird state of like, you know, being so unsure of yourself. But you kind of just gotta trial and error the fucking shit. You know, I wrote a letter to myself that I probably should read right now, which I put on the letter. It was in one of our little groups we did in rehab. It was like, I mean, the rules were a little loose, which is why I was able to do it the way I did it, but the letter was supposed to be, write something to your future self, and mine was just, most of them were sealed, and it's like, to read like a year later. Mine was to open when things get rough, that's what it says on it, and a lot of it is about how I always seem to fall apart at the error, in trial and error. It's kind of defeating the purpose of trial and error if I just fall apart at the error. You kind of just gotta, you know, life's gonna have its up and downs. You're gonna make this mistake. You shouldn't just not live. You know, all's this not letting myself do the things I should be doing, and this trying to protect myself just hurts myself a lot. And I guess I'm embarrassed, you know, and all this kind of stuff, because like I let myself fall down so badly, and just the way it snuck up on me too. I guess there's a fear of it happening again, but like I only let it happen again because I wasn't getting help. I think about, yes, technically the moment things really did fall apart, I was actively going to therapy, but I've kind of gotten past the point of being scared of the healing part, so I don't have that fucking with me. And back when things like I started doing that settling thing, started losing my mind before I completely lost it after, you know, a couple months of therapy and doing all that kind of stuff, it was because I wasn't going to therapy. So yes, I lost my shit because I started, you know, figuring shit out. I also lost it before that because I really wasn't. So it's weird, but like I gotta like not be so scared of fucking up again, because that is gonna make me keep fucking up. You know, either in the moments of I actually start to do the stuff I'm supposed to do or want to do, and I'm afraid of it, and it constantly sticks in my mind. That will fuck me up. But the other thing that will also fuck me up is because I'm so scared. I'm just gonna lay here, and not fucking deal with things. Even though to an extent, yes, relaxing and taking my mind off things is good, but I've been doing too much of it to the point where I'm not fucking. Hang on. Even right, ironically, I'm gonna lay down for this. Yeah, even though I'm not like, I don't fucking remember what I was just saying there, but like, yeah, no, it's like it's good every now and then, and I need a lot more of it than I'd given myself in the past. I do have to make sure not all or nothing, and a lot of it is gonna be once again trial and error. It's gonna be putting in certain exercises like timing things, whether it be work or play and stuff like that, and kind of just, and kind of just balancing things out, forcing myself to, and shit like that. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error, and I'm not going to get back to what I was necessarily, but that's not completely a bad thing. There's a lot of things that were not so great about the version of myself I used to be. Evidently so, through watching those videos. For every fucking amazing thing I saw, there was something fucking horrible. Just as bad as the other thing was good, if that makes sense. It's like the balance was so here and fucking here. It was like, yeah. So, I just gotta fucking move on. And it's not gonna look the way I thought it was gonna look. It's literally gonna be, and I guess the thing that was keeping me from completely diving into things is because because of the way I was doing it before. I thought it was wrong because once I got out of the rehab and stuff like that, there are certain things. There's like physical issues I'm having and stuff like that that I was kind of trying to bypass. That's different. That is something I need to ease up on and not be so whatever about. But I can't make that be the blanketed way I treat everything now. I can't be like, oh, I just need to rest. I just need to rest. I just need to rest. I can't do that to myself. That's not the way this works. So, yeah. It's just the ways things happened in such a way you're not planning. And God, I was in such a good place, and I wasted so much time after that period of time in 2022. I wasted so much time because I was starting to do too good. Dude, I remember it right now. I was getting to that point where it's like, yeah, I'm finally here. I finally made it, and not in a literal sense of making it big or anything like that, but I was making it for real in my head, just my version of what success and making it is, which is purely just things are looser now. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm progressing. I'm not letting shit affect me so much. But then it was like, oh my God, well, something's got to be wrong. Something, whatever. And I don't remember if there's a specific thing I fucked up. I don't even think there was at this point. I think it was all, because it's always been mostly that, but it's always been something quote unquote real that happens that I'm able to grasp onto and blow up 50 million times. But I don't think it was anything that time. I think it was literally just made of nothing. And yeah, it was just, and it's been 3 fucking years, and I need to get back to that version of not completely that version of myself. Like I said, it's not going to be like it was, and I don't want it to be completely like it was, but the good things, the better things about myself, I need to get back to that. And the way I did that was just simply not giving a fuck. Yeah, as a result, at the time, I guess my fear is not giving a fuck is going to make me repeat things, because there was the aspect of, because of the fact I didn't give a fuck, maybe it made me act in not so great ways because I was almost too not giving a fuck. But I don't think actually that was a problem at the time. I think I had gotten to a better point. My prefrontal cortex was fully developed by that point and shit like that. I was in just a more evolved place, so I didn't need to worry about this stuff so much. But I had so much history with completely going too far with the not giving a fuckisms that I thought like that was just gonna be it again. You know, now I need to overanalyze literally everything I do. But that's so fucking harmful. It's so bad. Don't do that. No. That's a no. You know, it's not the fact that like analyzing things is bad necessarily. It's just like, I guess for me personally, it's at this point where I've done enough of it to last me a lifetime. So just say fuck it. Not fuck it in the sense of go start drinking again, but say fuck it and truly go for the things that make you, you know, healthy and happy, even when they're difficult. Because you know what you have to do. So basically, it's like, just do that thing. Because you may even be uncomfortable and actually feel like shit maybe when you started. But as the process continues, you always feel better afterwards and shit like that. And a lot of times during. That's what matters, is how it's going to keep building me up into this ultimate version of myself going forward. And it might look nothing like any of the previous versions I see. You know, and yes, I did reference, I want to get back to this in some aspects, yes, definitely, absolutely, you know, making music and stuff like that. But like, yeah, just don't focus so much on the details of that and just kind of do your fucking thing again. And it's not gonna be perfect, and maybe you're gonna be scared of being judged. I've been seriously damaged by the events that had happened early in 2024, late 2023, 2024, that I'm still recovering from. You know, and it's been just, because if I thought I neglected things throughout 2020, mid to late 2022 and 2023, 2024, and like. Actually, 2025, not as much, but mainly 2024, I was so not just ignoring what I should need to do, and like, you know, not so much letting things fall apart as much as it was complete self-destruction. I mean, I was actively basically trying to kill myself, the amount of alcohol I was drinking. Yeah, and, you know, that's something it's something I gotta deal with the whole what happened there. But not in the overanalyzing sense. It's literally work through it. And I know this, you know, the only way out is through. You know, you can't think your way into better living. You have to live your way into better thinking. And I guess this is my post-rehab. This is my rehab of how, you know, this is my personal rehab that I've had to do post being in rehab. So, yeah. I feel like there's a lot more I wanted to say, but like I got a good chunk of what I wanted to say out. And it does feel like it is me saying the same thing I have said a million times of like, I'm just gonna get back up and stuff like this. But I truly mean it this time, because there is a difference in the mindset now. There is more things that have been discovered. And it had been proven to me that it wasn't through the overthinking and overanalyzing that led me to the point of, you know, realizing what I needed to do to not repeat history. It was literally just going with the flow, accepting that I'm this self-aware person that can handle my shit instead of constantly doubting myself. Removing that self-doubt part as much as it was there, and just not letting things happen necessarily, I mean, I guess, but just, like I said, just going with the flow, or did I say that? I don't know, just going with the flow, you know, finally makes me realize the shit I was trying to realize by thinking things to death all the fucking time. So, yeah, you know, I think about all the moments where I was able to achieve good things, and those moments where I look at those old videos and the good stuff that I'm like, oh man, I gotta remember I was fucked up in the head still all the time. There's still a million thoughts, self-destructive. There are voices just saying, not literal voices, but like, you know, just things trying to like pull me back and be like, no, and shit like that. They were there, but I was able to just move through it. You know, every time one of those fucked up, self-destructive, you know, whatever thoughts came in, they still were there, but I just kind of kept moving past them. They kept coming up, but I kept dodging and weaving. It wasn't so much me narrowing it down, trying to figure out, oh, what's wrong there. I don't need to do that, because the fact of the matter is, I've been so fucking traumatized. Obviously, that's gonna be a part of me. But the thing is, like I said, you just gotta kind of work through it. And not work through it by trying to think through it. I mean, literally just keep doing the shit you're supposed to be doing. And because I constantly, when I actually let myself do that, those are when the epiphany moments tend to come. I can't think of very many moments where those moments came, and it was because I was just sitting here thinking about it. Maybe it's happened, I can't recall right now off the top of my head, but like most, if not all, the times that it's actually happened for me is because I was just actually doing the things that give me life. And yeah, so I'm getting a perspective on things. Yeah.